Okay, welcome everyone to our Saturday wealth creation course. It's good to see you. We've got an awesome course planned for you today. Before we get started, though, I do want to introduce myself. I'm Jerry Fetta. I'm the founder and CEO of Wealth Dynamics. I'm joined here by my Chief of Performance and Delivery, Samantha Estalayo. So I want to give Sam a quick intro myself and give her a minute to introduce herself as well. So Sam basically is the one that runs all of our training, all of our delivery. She's in charge of new clients coming on board, making sure existing clients are serviced. So she knows wealth dynamics in and out. Right now, Sam is also very experienced as an executive. She's had a very long track record of not only working as an executive, but training and coaching others. And then she's also, using like her sacred account. She's got one for herself. She's got one for her son, Dante. And so she's a living, breathing example of what a wealth dynamics executive looks like. Right. So she's going to be co-hosting with me. But Sam, can you give a quick intro just on who you are and what you're all about?
Yes, so thank you for that, Jerry, by the way. So yes, my name is Samantha Estalayo. I currently live in Vancouver, Canada. But despite that, I will be here to service any clients, all time zones, any city, country, whatever it is. As Jerry said, I do have my own sacred account. I have one for my son, Dante, which I got for him when he was 6 months old. So, that's really getting the generational wealth going there. I'm working at Wealth Dynamics for well over a year now. And what Jerry said is true. I started out in the training of our clients. I then went over to take on the delivery of all of our services, as well as the quality control. So if our clients ever have any concerns or questions, I am the person for you to reach out to. I will answer you day or night, doesn't matter. Because our goal at Wealth Dynamics is to help you achieve your financial freedom. And I'm very, very personally involved with doing that.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam. Now, real quick, I just want to check in with my team. Are we streaming now on Facebook?
Bree's saying that it has to be you. The host has to do it.
Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is get the streaming up and running here. And then Sam, if you can open us up, just because I'm going to be occupied for a minute as I get that part kicked off. But guys, today we're going to start with mindset. Okay, that's going to be the focus of today's topic. So Sam, if you could talk for a couple of minutes, and Sam interacts, you have to understand, with a lot of clients, right? So if you're on the webinar today, you're probably brand new, or maybe you're a client, maybe you've been checking us out for a little bit. Sam works with people that they're investing, hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. They're setting up their sacred accounts. They're reducing their taxes. Sam, can you talk to me about the mindset difference you see of someone that really does well as a client with their services versus someone that maybe they don't quite make it? They take a long time, they get stuck, they stop, and they don't make as fast financial progress.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the main differences I've seen is those who go farther with their investments, with their sacred accounts. Maybe they've tried other things, but they've really studied the blueprint and Jerry's videos, and they've really seen that this is the way to go. And they go all in. Like if you just kind of put your foot in the water a little bit, you're not going to get very far. But if you're constantly educating yourself, like through our university, through our courses that we have and the videos, and you're continuously asking questions and just furthering your own financial knowledge, that is really where it gets you there, because we will guide you, but you need to know what you're doing. You need to know what services you want to do. You need to be responsible for getting yourself through it as well. We will always, always, always guide people, but that is the main difference I've seen, where someone is like, hey, Sam, I want to do this. What do I do? Tell me, I'll do it. And then they just go and do it, as opposed to hesitating a little bit or taking some time, or maybe I want to check this out first and go over here a little bit. It just drags everything out. And that's definitely a difference in mindset.
Yeah. And I want to add to that, guys, there's the ability to be and do. So to take on the character qualities and do the activities necessary without necessarily having everything figured out right away. Right? Like that's a big deal. That's something that shouldn't be looked down upon. And it needs to be really clearly understood that that's a key to success. Right? So when somebody is starting on this wealth journey, one of the things that I want to focus on We're gonna have to skip the streaming today. There's a whole thing with the passwords. We'll get that straightened out next time. One of the things I want to focus on is the ability to be, right? So think about, like, if you're watching this, obviously you have desires to become financially independent or financially free to some level, right? Same, everyone you've talked to in our client service division, isn't that kind of the thing that they're going for?
Yep.
Good. So here's my mindset thing, and I'm going to do some whiteboarding with you guys today so we can really be on the same page with some of the concepts, right? But you need to think with the results, right? What's the end result? So here you are, right? You're starting at this point, and most people, you know, if you think about life, like if that's the span of their life in years, right? What is the most you think that most people, Sam, you think ahead in the future? How many years in the future do you think most people are thinking with their day-to-day activities and all of that?
Maybe a couple.
Yeah, maybe a couple years at best.
Yeah.
So think about that. Somebody's thinking with a couple years out. They're like maybe 2 years out into the future, and that's what they have their attention on. Right now, my goal is not to make anyone wrong with pointing this out. My goal is to say, hey, you can't think with 2 years into the future. Right? Like if you're thinking with 2 years into the future, you're basically thinking about paying your bills, you know, eating at some nice restaurants, maybe going on 2 or 3 vacations, you know, paying off the house a little bit more and just existing. Right? It's considered hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck. Like you're not really thinking about, and here's the thing, guys, the number one step on this with wealth is starting with the end in mind. Okay? Now, right or right, agree or disagree. Sam, tell me what you think. This is a super hard question. The future is going to happen whether you plan it or not.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right? So let's say this is 20 years. In 20 years, right, everyone? 20 years will have gone by. And the question is, were you in control of what happened during that period? And if you weren't in control of what happened during that period, I would venture to guess that you didn't plan for it. You weren't trying to be in control. And if you didn't plan for it, like who's ever had a problem where you're like, I had this problem, and I want to see show of hands on this. Who's ever had a problem where you're like, I had a problem, I ran into this obstacle, I ran into this thing, this barrier, it's holding me back. And then you realize why the problem exists, right? Like for example, on paycheck to paycheck, and you're like, oh, it's because I don't save money. And then you almost have to laugh at it. You're like, of course I'm paycheck to paycheck. I don't do the one thing you're supposed to do to not be, which is save money. Right? Or I'm out of physical condition and you're like, oh, I don't exercise or eat right. Like, duh, like that would be a good reason why I'm not physically in shape. Right? So this planning thing, if I'm not living the life that I want to live, probably it's because I didn't plan to. Right? And that's something you can look at that. It's almost laughable. Who's ever had that where you see and you're like, that's hilarious. Like, of course, you know, of course my tire's flat. I didn't put air in it. Right? Of course I didn't take a vacation. I didn't plan one. I didn't pay for a plane ticket. Right? The ingredients really have to be there. Right? So before we really get rolling into our material, guys, I wanna lay down a couple of ground rules. Okay. This is a digital event. So you're either watching this live or you're watching this on the replay. I want you to imagine going into a conference room where you're there to learn and network and you know, see the speaker and all this stuff. But I want you to imagine that nobody says anything to each other. Nobody talks and it's completely silent. There's no applause. There's no murmuring. There's nothing. You're just there quiet, almost like you're the only one in the room. Okay. Who will agree that that would be creepy as hell? Sam, would you go to an event like that?
No.
No, that's like weird. That's like cult status. Like we're about to sacrifice a chicken or something, right? So that's what happens on these digital events. These events are only as good as you guys make them. So what that means is obviously we're not in a room. It's not a normal thing, but be in the comments. Ask us your questions. Let us know your wins. Like that feedback is so important, right? When I go to events, there's 2 reasons I go there. I go there, number 1, to learn. Number 2, to meet people. right? And then number 3 is to build partnerships. Right? I want relationships that last after the event's done. Right? So if you're here today, I want you to think with those 3 things. You're here to learn, right? And that only happens if you let us know, what do you need help with? We're here for an hour, right? What do you need help with? What questions can we answer? I can talk all day long about anything you need, but I want it to be the thing that you really do need. And Sam does too. Right? Second, network with each other. Right? Like in the comments, like figure out who's on this webinar with you. You might not know who's on this webinar with you. Right? There could be some people that are going to be great friends in your life, and we're going to talk about that today. And then third is I want you to make partnerships after the event. Now, I always, if I go to an event or I go and I attend a training, I make sure I implement what I'm learning. So if there's a way to do that, if there's a course, if there's a book, if there's an offer, if there's a coaching program, I'm almost always going to enroll in it because I don't want this to be just another event that I attended. Right? Like it's cool, awesome, but why are you here on a Saturday at the middle of the afternoon on one of your only days off in the week if you're not going to do anything with the information after? Right? You could be out with your family, you could be out having fun, you could be binge watching Netflix, like who knows what you would be doing on your Saturday. Right? But you're here and you're here for a reason. Right? So I want you to think with what is that reason? And then what do I need to do? What's the action I need to take at the end of this? Right? Now, I'm going to help you with that. We do have an offer today that I want to make you aware of. And this is going to help you take what we're going to learn today and start to implement it. Right? So Bree is going to put this in the chat. Brianna Shaw, she's on my staff. She's one of my executives. She's in the chat reaching out to you guys right now. Her goal is to get in communication with you, answer your questions, schedule an appointment, help you become a client, right? Get you involved in one of our offers. So this is called the How to Create Wealth course, right? And the title says what it is, how, the methodology that you would use to do something. And the thing that we're going to do is create wealth, right? Now to create wealth, we have to understand what wealth is, and it starts up here. And that's what we're talking about today, right? So we're doing a special offer. This is usually a $99 course. It's a 13-part video course. It includes the book, How to Create Wealth, which I have right here, right? And it also includes one-on-one coaching with Brianna to get you through the course, right? Phenomenal value. Usually this is $100. Today you can get this for 25 bucks, right? So Bree, can you put the link for this in the chat as well as the coupon code? Awesome. Thank you, Bree. So guys, if you're watching this, I want you thinking with, okay, I need to get on the course next. That's my next step, right? So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this. So we talked a little bit about this already, Sam, is the mindset thing and thinking with the end in mind. This thinking with the end in mind, it's got to be something based on your wealth goal. Right now, Sam, what do you think? Like, if you're the average person and you hear wealth, what do you think of? What is like the definition or descriptions you would be like, oh, this is what the average person thinks wealth would be?
Debt free, money, greater like incoming than spending, like in general. You have a surplus of money, owning a house, owning a car, maybe a couple investments. Passive income.
We have house, we have car, investments, and passive income.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. I would agree with that. I think most people would say that that is wealth, right? Now, this up here, this is just basic solvency, right? Like just not having debt and earning more than you spend. That's where you should be. This 0, that's the baseline for everyone watching. If you're confused, that is literally the starting point. Everyone in the world, or at least in the United States, should be there. If you live in America and Canada, you have 0 reason not to be there. Zero. There's no excuse. Like, I'm taking your excuse away from you. You make more money than anyone else in the world. There's more opportunity here than anywhere else in the world. There is zero reason for you to struggle. Okay. So this next part, house and car and some investments, this is just comfort. Right? I have a house. Why? So that I don't have to worry about where I live and I don't have to think about a mortgage payment. Right? I have my car paid off. Why? So I can go places. I don't have to think about a car payment. I've got some investments. If you ask most people why, they're probably going to say something related to retirement. Right? Now, the passive income one, this one is interesting because this is where you actually start to gain some freedom. Right? And this is perfect because it's going to lead into my definition of wealth. Right? I have many of them. I'm going to share one with you guys on this webinar because you're here today. It's not one that I've ever shared before. Okay. So the first, it's 3 pieces. The first one is helping others. Okay. So, and here's what I mean by that. When we talk about wealth, if you're watching this webinar, you probably either have this mindset or you've heard this mindset. Oh, I want to get financially independent and get passive income so I no longer have to trade time for money and I can quit my job that I hate. Okay. That will not solve your problem. You do not have a job you hate because you're not wealthy. Those two things are not linked whatsoever. So if you're trading your time for money, which is already one problem, and then the thing you're doing to get the money isn't something you like and are proud of, that has nothing to do with your investments and passive income. That's a you problem. That is a matter of personal integrity. Right? So wealth is something where if I'm helping someone else, I don't get paid, care if I get paid or not. Who here is like me on that? In the chat, I want to see, or hands up. If you're helping someone, you're usually not worried about being paid. You're just like, I like helping. Right? Whether someone is broke down on the side of the road, or you're in a business consultation, or you're a salesperson, or you're a nurse, or you're a mechanic, or whatever, you just like helping people. Right? So would you agree or disagree then? A key definition with wealth would be that you're helping people. Right? Because what would be, Sam, what would the opposite be?
Oh God. I almost can't even think that way. I don't even know.
It's kind of the status quo that we have for rich people. The evil guy who helps nobody, and he's Scrooge McDuck, and he's trying to blow up the world, and all this shit that we see out there. So we already identify that as a bad character trait. Having money and not being helpful aren't things that should go together. Therefore, the number one thing you should be if you have money is helpful. Right? So this then flies in the face of, oh, I want passive income so I don't have to trade my time for money. To some degree, that's true. You should not want to have to trade your time for money. That is slavery. That is an obligation, right? Now, it doesn't mean that I don't want to do anything. It doesn't mean that I don't want to produce. It doesn't mean that I don't want to help, and it doesn't mean that I don't want to contribute. Right, Sam, if you're like helping a client and then you find out like they have zero interest in ever contributing and they just want to do all this stuff so that they can be lazy the rest of your life, how much do you want to contribute to that person achieving that goal?
Not very much at all.
Right, that's not what we're about, right? And so this is a key definition: is you're being productive, you're contributing, and in a way that helps other people, whether you get paid or not. Right? So that's the first point of this. Now, the second point is expansion and use of resources. Right? So to the degree that I'm wealthy, I should be able to expand my natural resources and my non-natural resources. Right? Sam, what would be some examples of like using natural resources if I'm wealthy?
Natural resources.
Could be like travel, right?
Yeah,
experiencing like different places.
Yeah, like travel, or Yeah, experiences like, with your family or, your groups or something like that, like being able to experience something you haven't been able to.
Yeah, exactly. So guys, like this is the part that you see, like you see wealth and you think this and you're like, okay, I want to travel. I want to have a nice house. That's a house is a non-natural resource. Use of a resource. That's a house. I have a nice place I live. I want to drive my dream car. That's a resource. Right? I want to vacation in the beaches in Thailand. That's a resource. So do I have the ability to use those resources? And to the degree that I do, I have wealth. Right? If you guys know me, I've lived like 2 million places this life already. Like I've moved and I've been all over the map. Right now I live in Kansas City. I don't know where I'm gonna live next. And so a couple months ago, I had a kid actually ask me. She was like, "Why do you move so much?" And my answer was, "The world is a big place, and I don't think that it was designed for us to just pick one spot and never leave it. Why would it be so big? Why would there be so many places if we were all only supposed to ever live in one?" So I want to experience it. I want to go there. I want to see it, right? Now, the other part is expansion of resources. Okay, expansion means something is increasing. Like Sam, what do you think of when you hear the word expansion?
Yeah, definitely increasing. It could be like, let's say you lived in a small apartment, now you live in a big house. That would be an expansion or a form of it. Or, maybe you thought you didn't have enough money to have a family,
Mhm.
but now you do. So now you're having 3 kids. That would be expanding your family.
Yeah, exactly. So you should be expanding the good resources in your life. Kids, that's a resource. A house, that's a resource. Travel, that's a resource. Land that you own, that's a resource. Right? Anything you're thinking with where you're like, it's matter or it's energy or it's space or it's time or it's a place or any of that stuff. That's resources. Okay. There also are financial resources. Your net worth should be going up. Your assets should be increasing. Right? Another one, knowledge. Is right or right? Is knowledge a resource? It's a resource. It's your number one resource. Right? So on this definition, all of these things that you're going to use, you should be using them and expanding them. Okay. Now, the third definition here, the third part of this is goals becoming reality. Right? Like achievement of your goals. What are the goals you have for your life? And to the degree that you can achieve those, who else on the webinar today? I want to see again in the comments and show of hands. Who else has realized that when you want to achieve goals, it's going to cost time, money, and energy? I figured that out the hard way. I was like, oh, I wrote my goals down. Right? I have this pad. I write my goals down every single day. Right? And I wrote my goals down. When I first started writing them down, I was like, I'm writing my goals down. I'm writing them down. And then I realized after some experience and time, I'm like, oh, that's cute. Right? Like, what about the money that it's going to cost and the amount of time it's going to take and the amount of work and energy and just doing, right? That all goes into your goals. Okay. Now you're listening and you're watching and you might be like, yeah. So we have Lauren says yes. Okay, cool. We'll open this up for some questions in a second before we move on. But guys, so this is the definition I have for wealth. Now, there's 2 questions I want you to ask yourself, right? Obviously, as you're watching this, as you're listening to this, Sam, does this sound like a lot of work?
I can see it like you thinking that it can be a lot of work, but it doesn't have to be.
Exactly. So, like, as I was describing this, I think everyone, and it's to greater or lesser degrees, I think everyone has an inner coward, right? Like, and it can be a big one or a little one. I have a little one at this point, but the inner coward in me was like, oh shit, that sounds like a lot of stuff you've got to do. And I'm like, damn right. But let me ask you this. If I'm helping other people, that's work, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
But it's good work. I'm always going to need to do work. That's never going to go away. The rules of the planet you live on is you have to work to make things happen. Effects aren't created if a cause doesn't exist. Newton literally made a law about that. For every action, there's an equal or opposite reaction. You got to do shit to get shit. You got to cause things to get the effect, right? So I'm helping other people as opposed to not, right? If I'm going to work and it's going to take time and energy anyways, wouldn't I want that to be helping other people? right? It's a better outcome. Expansion and use of resources, right? That one, I didn't get as much. My inner coward wasn't as loud on that one because I'm like, oh, buying a house and expanding and traveling. Those are all nice things, right? Goals becoming reality, right? That one where I started talking about the amount of time and work and energy and resources, my inner coward was like, yeah, that's a lot. It's easier just to not have goals, right? And I'm telling you guys that so even I have that. It's not going to go away. You've got to learn how to control that, right? Like it literally is just, like involuntary calculations your mind is making. Sometimes they're valid, sometimes they're not. Don't worry about them. Continue onward, right? But again, a life well lived would be one where I accomplished my goals. Mm-hmm. And so my first question is this not the ideal life? A life where you're helping other people and you're expanding and using resources and your goals are happening. That's wealth, right? This is how you build wealth. Now, the second question I have, you would need money to do this. You would need financial resources to do this, right? And so this is really where it all starts is, what does this look like in your future? Have you thought about this? This is completely different than what you're taught by the financial system. You are not taught to help other people. You are taught to build up just enough money for you and your immediate loved ones to live off of when you retire, and hopefully you die before the money runs out. That's what we are taught. You are not taught to expand and use resources. When it comes to resources, we're either taught like fully like go overboard and just become completely consumerism and all about buying things and having things and all the shit that we can own and use and have, right? We're not taught about like expansion of resources. We're not taught about, like we're either taught the polar opposite, which I just mentioned, or the other spectrum, which is conservatism. I don't need all that. Money can't make you happy. Like those nonsense things you hear people say. Mm-hmm. Right? No one says, hey, if it's good, there's no such thing as too much of a good thing. Right? Like who would say, oh, I travel too much. I eat too much good food. Right? My house is too big, right? Or the land that I have is too much. I would rather have less space. Right? My family is too large. I mean, that one maybe could happen if you didn't plan ahead, but you have to just go with it. You can't get rid of people once you have them, right? But those are things where we have to look at, okay, expansion, growing and using the resources we have, and then goals becoming a reality. Okay, here's the thing I love about this definition. And Sam, tell me what you think of this. Mm-hmm. This is how you build wealth. And yes, ultimately having your ideal scene happen in each of these categories is going to take money. But Sam, if I'm just starting, couldn't I start doing all of these today at a smaller level?
Exactly. I was just thinking that it's a scale, like gradients at scale. Like you can start out here and keep working up.
Exactly. So guys, this is really where it starts. The mentality. You need to know what this means for you. And I'm telling you, if you're watching this today and you do not have this figured out, you need to. It is so important. It is so urgent. And no financial advisor is going to sit down with you and help you with this. And no insurance agent. And you're not going to get this from the financial world. You're going to get products, services, and confusion. Right? Those are the three things that they're going to produce for you. Okay? So this is super critical and very important. And I want to open this up for some questions really quick, just so that we have, anything that you guys have in the chat answered. Now, if you've never been on a web, excuse me. If you've never been on a webinar with me before, you should know that I like to mic people up on the questions. So that means I will unmute you. I want to talk to you. Just pretend we're on like AM talk radio, right? Or we're on a podcast and you're my guest. So I'm going to go through and check out some questions here. All right, guys, I do want to remind you, if you're on the webinar, check your chat. Bree is reaching out to you, right? So check your chat. You can do that by hovering at the very bottom of the screen. You'll see the little chat box pop up, or you'll see a little notification in Zoom. So Bree is reaching out to you to just check in with you, get in communication, answer your questions, and set up an appointment with you if you'd like to. Good. Jacqueline says she was finally able to clear a Saturday to tune in. That's awesome, Jacqueline. It's good to see you here today. All right. If you guys have questions for me, go ahead and put them in the chat here.
It looks like Todd had a question, Jerry.
Todd, okay. All right, Todd S. I'm gonna unmute you, Todd, and so that way you and I can chat about your question. All right, we're
Yeah.
live with Todd. How are you today, Todd?
Hey, I'm doing good, Jerry. This isn't the first time I've talked to you. I've been on
Awesome.
for the
Awesome.
last
Well, what's your
few
question?
years with you and Nino. When you were talking about resources, essentially my question is, isn't it more important, the resourcefulness as opposed to the resources that you have?
Good question. So basically what Todd is asking is it resourcefulness, right? Being able to create and use resources, or is it the resources I have? And it's going to be both, right? So when you're trying to accomplish wealth, if you do not have a lot of resources, you do need to be more resourceful, right? You need to make better use of the creativity you have, the commitment that you have, the resources that you do have, because you don't have a lot to build with. You don't have a lot to waste. So I'm an example of that. I grew up poor, right? I won't get into that today, but we did not have money. I didn't know anyone that had money. So I didn't have a lot of resources. So I had to be very resourceful, right? 80% of the millionaires in America are first generation. So they had to be very resourceful. Mom and dad did not give them that money. They didn't have the handout. They didn't have the silver spoon, right? They didn't have a multi-million-dollar loan from Papa who killed it in real estate, right? They had to figure it out. They had to bootstrap it. So if you don't have resources, you do need to be more resourceful. Now, here's the thing is as I've started growing and building, I've gotten more resources, right? And so that then comes into, I can use those as well, right? I don't have to be as resourceful because I have more resources. Now, I believe if you use both fully, right? If I have more resources, I wouldn't be less resourceful. That's just my personality. Like I would keep the same high level of resourcefulness and leverage the resources I have to get really far ahead, right? But it would be true to say somebody that has more resources, they don't have to be as resourceful, right? So I hope that answers that question. This is a great question, Todd. All right, good. Let me see if we have any other questions here before we jump into the rest of this. All right, someone says they're looking to learn more about the company. Good. So on that point, that's fine. Like we have our website, we have our reviews page, all of that. We have content all over the internet. If you're here today, I don't want you to be here to learn about the company. I want you to be here to learn about your finances, right? Learn about your finances, learn about your goals, and then ask the question, do I think these guys can help me get there? Right? Is the stuff that they're saying true enough for me that I'm like, that makes sense. That sounds true. And that sounds like it's going to help me. And if so, awesome, let's help you. Right? But if you're here to study the company and all that stuff, that's not the purpose of the webinar. I'm not here to be like, I'm Wealth Dynamics and I have this track record and I did this and I do that. I'm here to help you. Right? So if I'm here to help you, you've got to be here to help you also so that we can have that partnership and it moves you forward on your finances.
Mm-hmm.
Todd says, wealth to me is financial, location, and time freedom. Awesome. Reggie's at work. He can't speak yet. So Sam, here's Reggie's question. My question is, how do you stay focused in the moment when there's lots of distractions in front of you? Do you want to handle that one, Sam?
How do you stay focused in the moment when there's distractions in front of you? I mean, it's really, really important if you have your goals like set and you're like, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to get to, and it's the keeping your eye on the mountain for sure. You're always going to have things come into the way. It's always going to happen. There's no magical way to make everything disappear. It's that mindset. It's keeping your attention and your mind on what you want and just not paying attention to all the other distractions, because they will come up. It's inevitable, but it's keeping your goals there, but then also, what you need to do to get to those goals. You might have like your main goal and then there's like smaller goals underneath that. And you just keep pushing towards those and not paying attention to all the other noise.
Good. And I think that's completely on track, right? If you don't have your goals figured out, and this is to go back to the whiteboard here, right? If you don't know what this looks like, this is particularly point number 3, right? And if you don't know your timeline, like we were talking about here, and you're thinking here instead of out here, you're gonna get distracted. It's inevitable. It will happen. Right now, here's the great thing is goals becoming a reality is a process. And it requires persistence, and the wins aren't actually even like the achievement of a goal. I'm never going to downplay that. So when someone says Jerry is it the journey or the destination, I think it's the destination. Right? I'm like, why the hell would I be going anywhere if there was not a destination? I'm not like, oh, let me just go meander out in the wilderness to have a journey. No, I'm going somewhere. Like I'm going to that place. And yes, I have to take the destination to get there. And there's the journey, but that's the location, right? But the achievement of the goal is one thing. The story is the other thing. Whether you get there or not, you're going to have a damn good story. And it's the overcoming of obstacles. It's the facing the challenges. It's the hard battles. It's that stuff that makes it fun. Right? Now, that's why the destination is important. You wouldn't go just face obstacles and have battles for no reason. You would be like the reason, like think about that. Sam, imagine like if we were back in the caveman days and life just sucks, like you had dinosaurs and shit all the time and you didn't know why you were there, which is probably semi-true of the very first cavemen. They probably didn't know like their life purpose, right? Yeah. I mean, think about that. That'd be crazy, right?
Purposeless.
Right. So you have to have that purpose. The purpose is the destination, the vision. Where am I going? Why am I going there? That's got to be enticing enough for me to then face the obstacles. And a distraction is a form of obstacle. Right. So you being focused on your goals is going to be one thing. The other thing is that clarity, to answer that question, that clarity, I think this was from Reggie. Yeah, Reggie. So listen up on this. Check this out. That clarity that you have when you really have your goals handled, it gives you the power to say no. Right? One of the things that I've been able to get very, very good at, and Sam can attest just from working with the company, I'm excellent at saying no to things. It is a strong point of mine. No, we're not doing that. Why? Because I know where I'm going. I know the destination. So why would I say yes to something that either stops me or distracts me from getting there? Right? My viewpoint on it. And guys, a lot of this mindset stuff, when you think about mindset, right? Like we did a webinar over the summer. We had, how many people were on the arena webinar? Sam, was like 7 or 8 speakers.
Yeah, I think 7.
Like, and these guys are all top 1%ers in what they do, right? And that was why we called it in the arena. These are guys that are in the arena. Okay. Every single one of them, I kid you not, guys. And if you haven't checked this out, you can. It's the arena, in the arena bootcamp that we have on our website, on our store. Every single one of them at some point said it comes back to mindset. Okay. Sam, like I had this when I first started learning about mindset. I didn't know what mindset was. So I was very like specialized and mystic and esoteric. And it was this very like, like, ooh, mindset. Like I'm gonna, yell affirmations in the mirror or, take ice baths in the morning and all this kind of like, I didn't really know what mindset was. Yeah. So when I looked it up in the dictionary, mindset, the definition, a fixed attitude, disposition, or mood. A fixed attitude. Think of like, Sam, what is a fixed attitude?
If you were always excited about everything, that would be a fixed attitude.
Yeah, you're just always in that position, right? The second definition is an intention or inclination.
Oh,
An
wow.
intention is strong.
Yeah.
Who's ever experienced this? I want to see either hands up or in the chat, right? You thought of someone and then suddenly they texted you or called you. Who's had that? Be honest. Hands up. I want to see. Jeremiah has had that. Awesome. That's awesome. I've had that before, right? I can't just be me and Jeremiah. Richard has had that. Todd says all the time. Okay, good. So you guys can relate to that. Carlos has had that. That is intention. That is the definition of intention. You thought of that person. That's intention. That intention actually went to them. They felt it and reached out to you. You didn't say anything. You didn't touch them. You didn't do any. You just thought of them and boom, right? So Carlos asks to repeat the definition. So again, the definition of mindset, a fixed attitude, disposition, or mood. The key there is fixed, right? Mindset, it's set, it's fixed, right? Or second definition, an intention or inclination, right? That's super powerful, right? So the mindset, a lot of this wealth stuff is mindset. Now, I would then have to look at this, and here's where we're going to bring it home, guys. Yeah, unwavering. That's exactly fixed, set. It's not moving. It's sturdy. It's solid. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Mindset is the noun, right? There's not a description we've placed on what the mindset is. Right? Sam, you could have good or bad, right? You could be fixed in a high energy, high, like really good position, or low, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you need to be fixed. Here's the thing, based on where you're trying to get to. That's the reality of the fact. Whatever my goal is, my mindset has to be geared towards that. It has to be fixed towards that. And it all starts there, right? So again, guys, if you're in the chat, what I want to do is I want to make sure you get this offer, because this How to Create Wealth course is going to start you off. We're not going to cover it all today, right? And here's the thing. I'm going to put the link here. Coupon code, I believe, is going to be HTC. Is it HTC or HTCW 25?
HTC 25.
HTC 25, right? So guys, if you go to that link and you use the coupon code HCT25, you will get the entire course for $25, right? That's 13 video modules in our Wealth Dynamics University platform. That's going to be the materials that come with it, the ebook. It's going to be the one-on-one coaching with Bree as well. And it's going to get you into our community. Okay. And the reason why I want you doing this is not, guys, I don't make anything on $25. You have to understand, I don't get rich if you buy this course. It pays my staff and how much it costs to make the course. This is me putting this out there to help. Right. So here's the thing. How do you change your mindset? Right. Because I have my result. I'm thinking, okay, here's the end in mind. Here's what I want to do. Here's the goal that I have. Here's what I'm trying to create with my life. Here's what wealth looks like for me. Right. And you need to have the definitions for you of what this looks like. How am I helping others? What is it that I'm doing? What does the expansion and use of resources in my life look like? What are my goals that I no matter what, want to have become a reality? If you don't have these figured out, it's literally like we said, it's like having a journey with no destination. You got to have both. You got to have both, guys. Right? And realize we haven't talked anything about money yet today. All of this precedes that. I can show you somebody that has this and no money, and in 20 years, that person will be wealthier than the person who has money but not this. 100%, I can promise you that. Mm-hmm. Right? So we have the goal. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to create. The next part is you need to figure out, like, what is the role that I need to play to get there? Okay, and here's how I look at this. You have this goal figured out. It's crystal clear, right? Think of this like a movie, right? You're about to create like an A-level, massive production blockbuster movie. You have a role in that movie. You are a character. So if my movie is about Jerry achieving all these goals, the next thing I need to define is what does my character look like? Who does Jerry need to be in this movie to play that role?
Mhm.
Right? Sam, how would I handle that? Like if I'm brand new at this,
Yeah.
like what are some practical ways where I can maybe even start to get some reality on, well, what would I need to be like?
I mean, for me, it would be studying, like see the people who have, followed this in somewhat so that they've achieved that. Who were they? What were they like? Were they, and it's funny because some people think like, oh, well, you got to have like fancy clothes and a nice car, but that's not necessarily true. So it's really like doing the study behind it so you know what that is supposed to be.
Boom, exactly. So here's what wealth dynamics is. For those of you that are checking out the company, most people, they say, I want to be, wealthy, or I want to retire, or whatever. They have their goal figured out. Where do they go to? They go to a financial advisor, or they go to a bank, or something of that sort. Okay. I'm going to paraphrase this. You can Google it after. Warren Buffett is the one that gave this quote. Warren Buffett is a billionaire. Okay, one of the most successful and wealthy investors of all time. Okay, he says that Wall Street is the only place where a guy who drives a Rolls Royce will take advice from someone who took the subway. That's not my quote. That's Warren Buffett's quote. Right? So you have to look at, if I am trying to study my role, am I going to the right source?
Mhm.
What is the right source? The right source would be two places. Either somebody who is there and has done it, or somebody who has very closely studied those who are there and who have done it and will relay the information to me, and they're leading by example. They're doing it themselves. But you have to look at their statistics. What kind of financial advisor or bank they work for is not a statistic. Right? So here's my rule. Old, dead, and wealthy. If I'm going to study someone, they need to be all three of these. I do not study people who are alive today. When people are like, oh, what do you think of Elon Musk? I don't think of Elon Musk. Elon Musk is not old. He's not dead. And according to my definition, he's not wealthy. Right? Warren Buffett, he ain't dead yet. He's super close though. Like give the guy, who knows, maybe a couple months or something. He's pretty old. He's like 90 something. Right? He's not dead yet. So even Warren Buffett, you're not going to see me, I might give a quote here and there, but I'm not like, here's what Warren Buffett says about how to build wealth. Right? Who am I studying? I'm studying Andrew Carnegie. Died a super long time ago. I'm studying the Rockefellers. I'm studying the Vanderbilts. I'm studying these families, these corporations and individuals that they're hundreds of years old. Right? They're old, dead, and wealthy. Right? So this is where you got to look at. And this is, again, where do you get your information from? Right? And are you even getting information? And here's the part that for me was like a little bit of an adjustment to my reality. The role that I have in the movie I'm making is not the role that I have now. Right? Who's ever heard, and I'm gonna maybe shatter a couple of myths on this. Who's ever heard that idea of fake it till you make it? Who's heard that? Let's see, show of hands in the comments. Who's heard that? Fake it till you make it. Right? So there's usually two schools, two camps on this. Okay. And you guys can be honest. I'm not going to judge anyone on what side they're on. Usually there's the camp of embrace it. And that's where, if you've ever seen that movie, Catch Me If You Can, with Leonardo DiCaprio. Sam, have you seen that one where he literally fakes being an airline pilot? Right? Yeah. And he fakes it. And then at the end of the movie, like he actually becomes like a lawyer or some shit. Like he actually makes it legitimately. That's the like full embracement of fake it till you make it. Right? He did it in an unethical way because he did like forgery and identity theft and stuff. I'm not condoning that at all. Right? But that's fake it till you make it. The other camp is like, that's out integrity. I don't want to be fake. I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not. Right? Usually two different camps. Right? So when I first learned this, I was actually in the first camp. I was like, I don't want to be fake. I don't want to pretend to be something I'm not. Right. But here's the thing. That would be based on the assumption that who I am now isn't fake.
Mm.
Right? Like who decided who I am? Who decided my character qualities? I did. Right? So faking is literally, it doesn't really exist in the category of like identities we assign to ourselves and who we decide we're going to be, and the character traits we give ourselves and how we view ourselves. It's 100% subjective. It's 100% up to you and I. Right? So if I'm looking at my goal, again, mindset, I have to think about how important is it for me to get to my goal. And if it's important enough, I will change who I am. Because that's the thing that gets me there. That's the role that I need to play. Right? Sam, what do you think about that?
Absolutely, because it goes hand in hand. Like it all fits in together. You can't have this goal here and then you're a completely different person that would never actually get to that goal. It doesn't work.
So let's do a drill really quick. And I need your participation on this, please, in the chat. I want you to put in the chat some descriptions, right? Some descriptions of what you think a wealthy person would be like. Not a bad, let's take over the world and bomb the shit out of everyone. Not that, not this idle, vain, rich, like, Kardashians kind of thing. Like a wealthy person you respect and would want to be like. And I want to see in the chat just some descriptions of that. All right, Jeremiah says anonymous, okay? It's an interesting one. Good. Let's see what else. What else do you guys have? Other descriptions. Consistent. Good. I love that one. Okay. Ability to choose his or her own destiny. That's a great one from Carlos. Benevolent, kind, ambitious, reliable. Good. Philanthropist. I love that. I think that is hugely important. Great one from Jeremiah. What else, guys? They have perseverance. They're authentic. These are great. Okay, so those are awesome, and you can continue to post them. Thank you guys for that. I have 2 questions for you. Can you start doing that today? All of the things you guys mentioned, could you do those today? Could you start being that way today? Carlos says yes, right? I think so too. Benevolent, consistent, all of those things, right? Now, I'm going to pick on you guys for 1 second, and I'm doing this because I love you and I want you to be on track. Nobody said financially savvy. That one did not come up. You will not be wealthy if you're not financially savvy. You can be the kindest, most consistent, authentic, all of those things. Those are great. I'm not downplaying that. If you do not know how money works, you will not be wealthy. It doesn't happen by osmosis. You have to understand money, which is why you have to get on this course, guys. Okay, what did you do in the last 24 hours to learn about wealth? What did you do to improve your finances? Right? Like these are questions you've got to ask yourself. Most people don't. And here's the problem. And I'm gonna share a couple of things with you guys here. All right. So guys, again, Bree, if you could post the link and also the coupon code again for everybody. Okay, so check this out. And it's funny because I'm not a big Warren Buffett guy. And the only person I've quoted today happens to be Warren Buffett. Okay. But guys, if poor people would just do what rich people do, they wouldn't be poor anymore. That's a quote by Warren Buffett. Who agrees with that, by the way? If we just copy what the wealthy do, we would probably get similar results. right? So I need to ask you, why aren't you copying what the wealthy people do? Why not? What is the reason? Is it because you disagree with it, or is it because you don't actually know yet? Nobody has taken the time to teach you and to say, hey, here's what you should be doing. Right? I think it's the second one. I think everyone on this webinar, if they really knew, they would do it. Jeremiah says the reason is he's distracted. So Jeremiah, get the course. Get this course. Go to the link, use the coupon code HTC25. Bree will literally be on your ass to get you through the course. Like you will have the no distraction zone. Bree's gonna be like, cool, Jeremiah, we're best friends till you get through this course. She's not gonna let you get distracted, right? Now, here's the other thing. When is the last time you learned about finances? Okay, Warren Buffett studies 5 to 6 hours per day about finances. Bill Gates reads 50 books per year. Mark Zuckerberg reads a book every 2 weeks. Okay, so my question to you, can you do 1 hour a week? Are your financial goals and your financial future important enough to you to spend 1 hour per week on them? Learning, growing your mindset, growing what you think about money, growing your understandings in this area. Right? Carlos said the last time you learned about money was in school. At least Carlos learned about money in school. I don't know what school Carlos went to. That's a good one. I didn't learn about money in school. Nobody taught me this stuff. Right? Who else has heard that? You've probably thought that yourself. I should have learned this in school. Yep. All they had to do, guys, is put dollar signs in front of the numbers when I learned math, and I would have been much more engaged. Wouldn't you? Like, you're thinking with it. You're like, oh, if I add this many dollars and I multiply this many dollars, you start seeing how it works better. Okay. So here's the objection. I don't have time. Right. So there's 168 hours in a week. And I went ahead and I budgeted your time for you. But if you sleep 8 hours a night, you spend 56 hours per week sleeping. If you work more than the average person, you spend 50 hours a week working, 14 hours eating and prepping food, maybe 14 hours getting ready and showering and brushing your teeth and all that stuff, 10 hours commuting. That leaves 24 hours in a week. That's an entire day unaccounted for. Right now, I'm not telling you, like, Sam, have we ever told anyone, like, spend 24 hours a week training?
Not at all.
No, we say, guys, do an hour. Do an hour. That's all we need. Break it into 10 minutes a day if you need to, but do an hour, right? So an hour a week is all we're asking. The average person, check this out, Sam, 32.5 hours per week of television.
Wow.
2.5 hours per day scrolling on social media. They read 1 book a month, and it's usually fiction.
Yeah.
This is average. Carlos, Jeremiah, Richard, all of you guys, Todd, that are watching this, do you want to be average? If you don't want to be average, you can't be doing this. And I don't think you guys are watching 30 hours a week of television. I don't think that's my crowd. But what I'm asking you is, are you doing this? It's not just about what you don't do. It's about what you do instead. Instead of watching TV, I train and learn about finances. Instead of scrolling on social media, I train and learn about finances. Right? So I want to go back to the course again here and just repeat this one more time, because this is so important. And I'm going to tie this together at the very end before we wrap up here. Right? And again, guys, check your chat. If Bree is sending you a message, reach out to Bree in the chat. Okay. So here are my stats. I spent over a decade researching and studying the top 1% of wealth throughout history. I've read the biographies of these guys. I've done the deep dive research. This is what I eat, sleep, and breathe, right? But it took me 10 years, right? It doesn't need to take you 10 years. A lot of the basics that I learned are right here in this course, right? You can probably get through this course this week, right? Who would agree? $25 investment to get through the course this week, plus you get the book, plus you get Brianna coaching you, right? You're not going to get a value that good for your $25. And the price will be back up at $99. We're not going to keep that $25 forever. So at some point you're going to do this, is my belief. At some point you're going to realize this is important. I need to prioritize it. I need to actually put it into my life and put it into my schedule. Don't spend 400% more money when it happens. Lock it in today. It's 25 bucks today. It might not be when you decide that, oh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this finally. It might be 4 times the money for the same thing.
Yep.
Right? So this is going to give you what you need to start changing your mindset. For those of you that agreed, oh, I need to change my mindset. I need to focus on better goals. This is where it starts, right? So you have the role figured out. You know what your goals look like, right? You know, okay, I can look at the wealthy people. I know what the character traits are. And I know the number one trait that all of the wealthy people have is that they are financially savvy. Mm-hmm. That's the primary one you have to be. Right? And we mentioned a lot of good ones, the consistency, the authenticness, the benevolent, the philanthropist. Those are all important too, but you need financially savvy first. Right? So now that I know that, I have to look at, okay, these are the people I am studying, and the course is based on these people. Here's where that data came from. They've got their stats. I know it works. Right? But here's the thing is I then have to start changing my opinions. My opinions are the key to getting to where I want to go. Right? If my opinions are, okay, I get this and I learned it and I watched it and I did the webinar, but I still think, insert opinion here, if you're not where you want to be, that opinion doesn't work. An opinion is like a key. Right? If we have a key here, that key opens a specific lock. It does not open any other lock than the one it's designed for. Your opinions are like keys. Your opinions either unlock doors or keep them closed. You either have the right opinion for the door you're trying to open or you don't. And that opinion is going to be based on a couple of things. Who are you trying to be in the moment right now? This is why you need help. This is why you need coaching. This is why you need education. So we can remind you who you're trying to be. It's so hard when you get off this webinar and you go back home and you've got your family saying one thing and your coworkers saying another thing and your peers, and they all have different opinions, and you start to get yours, moved over to theirs. You're like at the end of this feeling strong. You're like, yeah, I know what I need to do now. And then you go back home and life happens. Mm-hmm. And then someone says, hey, you shouldn't want all that. Money can't buy you happiness. All of these are opinions, and it influences your opinion because you're not strong enough yet. You've got to spend the time learning and developing so that your opinion stands up against theirs. That's called influence. So if you've been influenced by other people, it's because they're more certain about their opinions than you are about yours. And the reason they're more certain about their opinions is repetition. Sam, have you ever experienced that where it's like just because something gets repeated over and over and over by enough people, it becomes this like, yeah, that's what it is, even if it's not true?
Absolutely. You even have that in those commercials that just like repeat the same message over and over again. If you think of a product, it's all you can think about. That's what I was thinking.
The jingles, the commercials. There's this old marketing adage: if you say it loud enough and enough times, it becomes true.
Yeah.
That's what marketing is, right? Now, most of the marketing you have about money and about wealth isn't true. It's false information. Mm-hmm. And it forms our opinions, right? The whole anonymous thing, I'm going to call that one out. That's bullshit. You don't want to be anonymous. The only reason someone wants to be anonymous is they have something to hide. Right? Now, I'm not saying you should go out there and showboat and rub your wealth in people's faces, but you should be out there. Like, the world needs to know who you are. They need to see, like, okay, Sam is wealthy. Sam's not going to help anyone if she hides. How is anyone going to be able to learn from Sam if Sam's anonymous? Right? That's false information. It's this fly under the radar, don't be heard, don't be seen, you're a target. Well, if you've got the right estate planning and asset planning, which wealthy people do because they have the opinion that they should, because they have the education that teaches to, because they decided to be wealthy and they realized that's what other wealthy people did. I just gave you guys the trick of the trade there. Then you would be like, cool, I don't care who knows who I am.
Yeah.
I'm protected. I'm good. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to go out there and help people now. Right? So we decide, what am I trying to do? What's my goal? What's the future look like? What does wealth look like for me? Who do I need to be in order to accomplish that? Right? And then what knowledge do I need to start getting and start studying so I can form the right opinions to unlock the doors to get where I'm going?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That is the mindset. And that has to be a daily thing. And I'm going to wrap it up with this before I bother you guys one more time about getting the course. You've had, and if you think about, like, I'm 31. Okay. I started learning this stuff at 18. I had a mentor, like, I don't know how the hell, but luckily I did. I had a mentor that said, hey, Jerry, what do you listen to in your car when you deliver those pizzas at night? At 18 years old, and I was like, I don't know, like music. And he's like, cool, I want you to listen to this CD set. And it was a book about mindset. Right? The first one I remember reading it or listening to, it's called The Strangest Secret. And The Strangest Secret, it's all about how what you think about becomes your reality. You are what you think about all day long. That's the strangest secret, because it's true. What your attention and intention goes on, it's going to come out. It's going to be around you all over, right? So I learned that at 18. And then I started correcting my habits. I read another book when I was probably 19 called Today Matters. It's by John Maxwell. And I remember reading that book and learning at the age of 19, your life doesn't change until you change something you do on a daily basis. AKA your habits control your outcomes. Mm-hmm. Right? Then I started learning about money, and then I started learning about business, and I've never stopped. And so I'm 31 now. I've spent, from 18 to 31, that's what, 13 years studying this stuff, right? And the reason I've been able to get where I'm going is because of that. Right? It's because I put the time in. Now let's pretend none of that happened. Right? So Sam, let's say I'm 31 and I'm just now learning these things. Okay. I have two things that I have to do. I have to remove the last 31 years of education, the things that I've learned that aren't true, that are holding me back. And then I have to fill it in with new stuff.
Exactly.
Right? And most people don't do both. What happens is most people, they just learn the new stuff and they don't get rid of the old stuff. Right? And Sam, you've seen this happen. Can you describe to everyone what happens when you don't get rid of the old stuff and you just try and put in new stuff?
It's conflicting because, like you said, we're brought up in a world where, you're supposed to have a 401k and you're supposed to do this and put money in stocks and whatever. And then you have someone over here telling you something different and you just can't. To me, it just puts you in inaction. Like you don't do anything because you're just confused.
Exactly. And here's what you need to be able to do. And again, guys, this is stuff that's in this course. It's in there, and it's stuff that really will help you. What Sam had just mentioned, I want you to think of it like 3 points, like a check mark, right? You need to study so that you can decide, so that you can take action. Right? So guys, if you're on this webinar today and you have not taken action, meaning you bought the course, my full intention on all of you guys that are still on this, get the course. It's $25. Invest in yourself. Are your goals worth 25 bucks? Right? Like it better be. It better be, because to get where you're saying you want to go, it's going to be a lot more time and money and effort. And I don't want you taking the long way. So if you cannot take action, it's because you're in a state of indecision. You have an inability to decide. That's what Sam said, right? Now, the reason someone has an inability to decide is they have a lack of knowledge or they have false knowledge. So then you need to study, right? So here are some of the decisions you will need to make factually to build wealth, to do the things that you say you want to do, to build financial freedom. You will need to take the action of saving 40% of your gross income and not giving it to banks and not giving it to Wall Street. That's a fact. right? At some point, you're going to need to figure out how to reduce your taxes. A tax plan is going to cost you 10 grand and you're going to probably save 40 or 50, but you're going to have to cough up $10,000 to do that, to learn what does this 100,000 page tax code say, and have a team of experts employed to get you through it.
Mhm.
That is a factual decision you will have to make. Who saw Donald Trump's tax returns? I don't care if you like him or hate him. He paid like $700 in taxes. I promise you, he paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for his accounting team to figure out how to do that for him. Okay, he took action. I don't think he was in a state of indecision about it. Why? Because the guy studied. He knew he had the right information. Right? Factually, you will need to invest millions of dollars. You're going to need to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in your education and in your personal development. Right? You're going to have to get outside your comfort zone and make new friendships and form new relationships and take risk and put yourself out there and deal with rejection. Those are big problems, big decisions, big things you're going to have to take action on. Massive. Right? Sam, you just had a meeting with a client that took action on putting $1 million in real estate with us, right?
Yep.
Okay. And they decided. And the reason why is they were ready for that. They understood, I'm about to make $1 million decision. Right now, that $1 million decision is going to probably pay them $10,000 to $12,000 per month in passive income for the rest of their lives. That's a really good decision. That's a really good big decision that they took action on. And it's something that's going to help them. But they were able to decide on $1 million.
Yeah.
Sam, if they couldn't decide on $25, do you think they would decide on $1 million?
Definitely not.
No. So guys, what I'm saying is you need to be able to decide on smaller amounts. If you're like, oh, I don't know. What if I don't have the time? What if I'm distracted? What if I don't have the $25? Put it on your credit card. Go into debt $25 so that you can figure out how to never have that happen again. Right? If you can't decide, the reason is you don't have the information you should have.
Mm-hmm.
You either have no information or you have wrong information that you think is right. And you've got to handle that. I'm telling you, you've got to handle that. Right? So I want to see who has taken action on the course so far. I want to see in the comments. Who's gone to the link, purchased the course, done the $25 deal that we're running right now? Anybody? Carlos did. That's awesome. Carlos, you're the man. Okay, so Carlos, guys, and Carlos, I want to unmute you real quick and just find out why you did that, how you were able to make sense of doing that. Because I know you're starting in a new venture. You've got a different career coming up. Your financial situation is probably not what you're used to. So I'm going to unmute you here, Carlos.
Mute. Hey, how
Hey,
you
Carlos, can you hear
doing?
me?
Loud and clear.
Awesome. Hey, congratulations on your investment.
Thank you, sir. Well, I am actually waiting for this to finish because I already clicked on the link. I put the code. Okay, but I am on my phone, so I don't want to be distracted putting my credit card information and then talking to you. So I'm just waiting for this to finish to put the credit card information. Okay.
Awesome. Okay, so Carlos is letting me know he hasn't paid for it yet, but he's about to. But Carlos, talk to me. Why are you making this decision and taking action today?
Well, brother, you said that you started learning about this when you were 18. Okay. And I am 41. So when you were 18, I don't know, your age right now. I have wasted a little bit of time not taking action. Okay. Or maybe I didn't have a plan. A plan to implement, to deploy, to that will take me where I want to go. As simple as that. Okay. So I need to take responsibility for it. That's why. And you're making it sweet. You're making it a no-brainer, dropping that down to $25.
Awesome. Awesome. I love hearing that. Well, thanks for jumping on, and you're gonna love the course, Carlos.
Amen to that.
All right, guys. So it can't just be Carlos. Like, I feel like I failed today if only one person is like, cool, I'm going to take action on my finances now. Right. So I want to see more people getting set up on this course that we have. There's really only two reasons that you would not do this today. Okay. The first one is you don't know if it's going to work. Maybe you bought courses before. Maybe you've been on webinars. Maybe you're like, I don't know who these guys are yet. Maybe this is a scam. Who knows? I'm brand new at this, right? That's completely valid. That could be one of the reasons. Okay. The second reason is you don't think you're going to follow through. You bought courses before, you bought books before, you didn't finish them, you didn't follow through, you didn't do the work, and you're like, God, I don't want to spend another $25 just to do nothing. Okay, so I want to handle both of those for you. First is showing you that this stuff works. Okay, so what's true for you about us is only what you observe and what you believe. Here's our review page. Okay, and I'm going to go through a couple of these reviews. This is from Jason Ref Snyder. He's a client. I've paid off all of our credit card debt, my car, and getting ready to pay off my wife's car in 2024 using the Sacred account. This is a life insurance policy we use to help people become their own bank. I've accumulated $21,000 of cash value for savings, and my wife is getting a Sacred account next year after finishing nursing school. If you stick with the financial blueprint, you will reap plenty of rewards. Wealth Dynamics has been a life-changing financial experience. So guys, let's just, this is amazing. All the credit card debt's gone. The car is paid off. The wife's car is about to be paid off, plus $21,000 in savings. Plus they're opening up an account for the wife also. So the savings is going to increase. This is, this guy's been a client for a couple of years. That's probably, I would say, $50,000 of value. Think about paying off the credit card debt, paying off the car, paying off the wife's car, plus 21K in savings. That's probably $50,000 in value that person has gotten as a client, right? Do you think $25 is worth that? Right? I want to give you another one. This is Jason McKee. Wealth Dynamics unlocked the code for me to save money and invest it wisely. The blueprint to financial freedom and Jerry's path to wealth is very successful as seen from my firsthand experience. Thank you for showing me an alternative to the traps of Wall Street. This is from Charisse Lyman. All I have to say is that I'm so grateful that I stumbled upon one of Jerry's TikTok videos in 2022. The video got me so intrigued because he was talking about the Sacred account. And I'm like, what the heck is that? So I reached out and called to speak to one of the members of the team to get more information. I then attended one of the Sacred account webinars, the same webinar you're on today. And I was blown away by the things I learned. I'm so glad there is a safer way to store money. I had no idea this type of thing existed. I had a hunch that storing your money in a bank wasn't wise. Okay, pause, time out. Who here on the webinar is storing their money in a bank right now? Charisse, not Jerry, but I agree with her, says that that's not wise based on what she's learned. Her opinion of banks has changed based on what she's learned. She's doing something else. So here's one of the things that a wealthy person doesn't do is they don't put their money in a bank. They don't leave their money in savings accounts. They don't leave their money with Wall Street. They do other things instead. Did you know that? And do you know what those other things are? And do you know how to do them? And are you doing them? If you can say yes to all of those, get the course. Go to the link. Just put in the code, how to create wealth, HTC25. You get $25 for the course, right? So I knew I had a hunch that storing your money in a bank wasn't wise, but I wasn't sure what to do. Long story short, I ended up opening a Sacred account in November of 2022, and that was one of the best decisions I've made. My money is now growing in the safest possible location. Thanks, Jerry. Right? This is from Cynthia. This is a client. They're in total, they're investing about $1 million with us. We've been working with Jerry and the WDX team for about 14 months. We were stuck in Wall Street following the masses since the late 80s. Wall Street wasn't stewarding our wealth as they were stewarding its own. After watching our wealth erode away in 2020, we had to do something. It was a big learning curve. Jerry took down the giant when he said on a video, finances are simply math and vocabulary. Okay, so I said the number one trait you must possess to build wealth is you have to be financially savvy. You need to know how to do the math and understand the vocabulary. That is all that that means. Right? Who told you that before? If you're on the webinar today, who has told you, hey, this is actually very simple. It's just math and words. And if you learn the math and learn the words, you can learn all of this stuff. Right? So she's saying that's what she realized. We could do math and we could learn new words. We read Blueprint to Financial Freedom and started to grow in confidence and understanding. Again, study. Sharice watched the TikTok video, right? She attended Sacred Account Saturday. Cynthia read the book. Jason read the book. Every review I've showed you mentioned studying. We've learned so much in our journey and took big steps after reading Jerry's book. Again, studying, watching videos, more studying, sitting in on calls, more studying. We didn't want to pay taxes, so we relocated to a tax-friendly state. We pulled out of Wall Street and took control of our investments. We set up a trust, replaced our mortgage with a first lien HELOC. If you don't know what that is, you need to be on the course. And we're stewarding our finances with greater understanding and intention. Wisdom says that people perish because they lack knowledge and vision. All right, so you're on the webinar today. What's the first thing I covered with you this afternoon? What is your vision for your life? What are your goals? What does wealth look like for you? Right? And then what did I follow that up with? Do you have the knowledge that you need to have? This is Cynthia's words that she is quoting in here. Wisdom says that people perish because they lack the very things I went over with you today. There's a reason why I covered the things I covered. If you do not get your vision handled and figure out the goals and figure out the mindset and back it up with knowledge, your goals are going to die. Your wealth goals are going to die. And eventually you're going to die and you'll never achieve that in this life. And I'm telling you, you can. And the world needs you to. This planet is better when there are more good people who control the wealth and who use it to improve the freedoms and conditions for humanity on planet Earth. I need you to be one of them. This planet needs you to be one of them, right? It shouldn't just be the top 1%. That's too small of a number. So if we're going to expand that, you need to say my beingness, my characteristic, my role in this movie that I'm making is a future top 1%er. So I need to act like a future top 1%er. I need to think like a future top 1%er. I need to act and decide and study like one as well. And if you get all those ingredients, you can become a future top 1%er and eventually become a top 1%er. And my hope is that the number is bigger than 1% by that point. Okay, but you need to think enough about yourself to invest in yourself to do that. Right? I'm going to finish this review. It says Jerry's story, values, and goals drive him to help others take ownership of their financial responsibility. He breaks the belief that finances are hard. Remember, it's just math and vocabulary. WDX is awakening people, answering their questions, and leading people into greater responsibility and freedom. Okay, that's from a client who recently made $1 million decision. Right? Now, here's the reality. For you to be financially independent at a 12% rate of return, you need at least $2 million. Okay, $2 million will pay you about $20,000 per month at 12%. $20,000 per month means you can live the way you want, you can eat organic, you can travel, you can save 40% of your income, you can donate. That's like the entry point. Okay, so I'm not asking you today to make a $25 decision. Todd, Jeremiah, Jacqueline, James, Lewis, Reggie, Richard, all of you guys, I'm asking you to make a $2 million decision. And that's the decision to invest in yourself so you can actually get there. Because if you don't, you won't. And I want you to be there because I know what it's like. I've got clients that know what it's like. I've got friends that know what it's like. Okay, and the final thing I'm going to wrap this up with today, you need to change, again, your goals. You need to change who you are, your beingness, your character qualities. You need to change your knowledge. You need to change your opinions. And the last thing is you need to change your friends. You need new friends. You need friends that think this way. You need friends that are going in the same direction you're going. You need a support system. I'm not telling you go break up with your friends and tell them they're wrong and say, well, I watched a webinar with Jerry Fetta today and he said you're stupid and I shouldn't be friends with you. No. Go to Thanksgiving with them, hang out with them. I don't care. but add new friends. You need to be friends with a guy like Carlos. You need to be friends with me. You need to be friends with Sam. You need to be friends with Cynthia and Charisse and Jason and all of the people that we just talked about. You need friends who are going to keep moving with you and they're going to hold you accountable. Right? You get that with the course. You get added to Wealth Dynamics Nation. Hundreds of people in there. Right? It's a group that will support you. My staff will all be your friend at that point. Okay, but you got to pay to play. This is not a free game, and it's a $25 game to start. Right? What's the dumbest thing you spent $25 on in the last 2 months? Think about it. Was it fast food? Was it coffee? Was it who knows what? I don't waste money, so I'm very bad. Sam, what are things people waste $25 on?
I would say like fancy coffees, definitely fast food. I bought a dog bed that my dog ate, so that was a big waste.
Okay. I had a collar actually my dog ate last night. I don't know how, but it happened. Okay, but guys, here's the thing. How do you make sense of spending $25 on coffee? How do you make sense of spending $25 on fast food? How do you make sense of spending $25 on a dog bed or a collar that your dog eats the next day? And how do you not make sense of spending $25 on your financial intelligence? Think about that. Okay, so Carlos has made the purchase. I want to see who else is committed and taking action today. Who else is in? We got Carlos. Jeremiah's got his hand raised. I'm gonna unmute you, Jeremiah. All right, Jeremiah, I'm unmuting your mic here. All right, maybe he doesn't have the unmute. Okay. All right, good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call on a couple of people here. I like to do this at the very end before we wrap up. Richard says he'll get the awesome. Richard's in. Richard, you're the man. He says I'll get it when I get home. Right now I'm at work. That's phenomenal, Richard. That's great. So we have Carlos, we have Richard. Who else? If you're still on the webinar right now, I want to ask you why. If you're not planning on taking any action, why are you here? So now people are leaving the webinar. They're like, oh crap, we actually have to do something. Lewis, Reggie, what's up, guys? Let's get you started. Todd, Jeremiah. I don't want to have you log off and this just be another Zoom webinar, another thing you attended. Let's actually turn this into some real results in life. Again, I'm gonna have Bree post the link here. Bree, if you could post the link in the chat one more time and also the coupon code once again. Awesome. Jeremiah says, I agree. Do we have you? Oh, Jeremiah, can you talk now?
Yeah, I can talk.
I hear you.
Wait, you can hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
All right.
That's awesome. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. I'm in the middle of we doing a little bit of work, but we're on our way to look at some property. I'm trying to be to make it. Did we miss our turn? Yeah, we missed. Okay, well, yeah, we basically I got in tune with this because I've been digging into the actual life insurance world. What it represents. What intrigued me about actual life insurance policy, because I've been trying to figure out ways to what to do with my savings, because I know it's not making any, it's not, it's making zero, dividends in a savings account as of right now. Now I've noticed there's been some bank, like my personal bank, they're starting to offer, hey, put this money in the savings account. They've been offering 5%, which is better than what they were offering. And because I guess the banks right now are becoming very competitive about that because it came out of nowhere. It's not like it was 1% last year and then 2% of, you know what I mean? Now it's 5.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that came out of nowhere. But I'm glad to hear that because it's competing with the CD that I didn't want to put into another bank account that I have and let it sit for a year. I wanted to be able to borrow from that money if I needed to. And that's why I've been looking at the variable unlimited. I said no, variable universal life insurance. But I noticed you guys are trying to utilize a whole life, which I'm currently learning about each one of them. So that's what brought me to this. Is like, hey, what do I do with my savings as I have it as it stands right now, and then at where should I continue to put my savings? Because I don't really know a whole lot about the stock market and things. That's a lot of, you need a lot of information to kind of, that's a daily operation that you kind of have to dedicate yourself towards. But with the insurance, I was like, that's something I can put there and not, it's not going to keep me up at night trying to figure out which companies went up and went down and what went down. So that's what brought me to you guys.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Who are you with? It sounds like you're driving. Is that your business partner?
I'm with my dad. He's a career contractor. And
awesome.
we're doing some renovation in a town about an hour away from where we're from, called Milledgeville. You may have heard of it if you're a football fan and you know who Ben Roethlisberger is. That's where he's from.
Okay. Very cool. That's awesome. I'm glad you guys were able to tune in today. Jeremiah, what questions do you have based on the course today?
Again, like it goes back to the savings, and I didn't want to ask too many questions that were probably gonna get be in more detail with the information that we have an opportunity to invest in today, which I'm going to do today. Like I said, I'm on the run and I'm listening to you, and we and him are having a conversation at the same time. And I'm actually going back and forth with Brianna right now too.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm like juggling some stuff, juggling a lot of conversations right now. But my initial question was, how do you feel about this as a place for savings?
Yeah. So I use my primary savings is the whole life insurance.
Yeah.
So I save about 40% of my income there. Now it sounds like you guys are doing real estate deals as well.
Well, that's the next step that I'm looking to get my first piece of property. It's going to be an investment property. Of course, I'm going to try to use the system as the system presents itself, where, I don't want to be, this is not going to be a house I'm going to live in forever or anything like that. I'll probably stay there 6 months to a year, and then just utilize the skill set that I have with my family to make sure it's up to par, make sure whatever needs to get fixed gets fixed, improve it in any way that I can so that it has an opportunity to be flipped later. But it's definitely going to be a rental property to start out with, unless I get a beautiful offer from the beginning. Once we kind of clean up the place. So we were going to journey out there today, but we'll probably have to find another day to do it. If not, but that's what I'm doing. So long story short, I was going to take a lump sum of money that I have in my savings, and I was going to put it in a CD. The offer was 5% for a full year. And then I kept thinking, if I put that money in the CD, I won't be able to touch it for a year. What if I needed to make an investment? What if I needed to put down a down payment on this real estate or something else? Because there are other businesses outside of that I also am venturing into as well. So I wanted to make this I wanted to make sure that this money was liquid. Now I know that there's, from the research I've done so far, I know it's between 70 and 90% that can be available to you in certain life insurance policies. I don't know exactly which ones, but I wanted to make sure I had an opportunity to touch that money. Obviously, and then put the money back as well. But then whatever I didn't use, it'll be there to continue to create its own passive income through the S&P. Because I'm assuming that this has offer opportunity for to invest in the index as well. The whole life. So I don't know enough to. Yeah, you may have. Sometimes our signal might go out in and out every now and then.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I'm totally tracking. I understand you there, Jeremiah. So I'm not going to be able to answer all of that today, right? But what I would say is buy the How to Create Wealth course I mentioned. For you, I'm going to ask Brianna to include the masterclass on the Sacred Account. That's going to be a 90-minute training just on the life insurance, and it's going to go super deep dive. And then there's one book that I want Brianna to recommend you to get. It's called Becoming Your Own Banker, right? So between the How to Create Wealth course, the masterclass on the Sacred Account, and Becoming Your Own Banker, that's going to give you all of the technical knowledge where you'll know, okay, this either works or it doesn't. I already know the answer because I'm doing exactly what you've described. Like that is what I do with my Sacred Account. But I want you to get all of the training that I have, because again, it's back to that. When you have the knowledge, you're able to really think for yourself on it and really make good decisions. And I just have experience. That's what most people lack. Like most people lack the ability to think for themselves when it comes to their finances. And that's really where that knowledge comes in. So you're like, you can kind of be your own advisor, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Because I've noticed there's a lot of people promoting being your own banker, and it makes sense. I actually had this conversation with my dad earlier. We were talking about the opportunity that it creates, because if you put a lump sum into an insurance such as the one that you guys are offering, or at least that we're talking about, it for certain people it might be misleading. They might be like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna get rich off of this." No, that's not how that works. It's like that money that you put into it is available as cash value, but you.
Oh, Jeremiah, I'm losing you here. I think we cut out on the service. Yeah, Jeremiah, I'm losing you on your service here. So, Jeremiah, get the course from Bree, How to Create Wealth course. Get that today. Yeah, you're cutting out, Jeremiah. So Jeremiah, get the course from Bree today, and let her know you want to include the Sacred Account Masterclass and the Becoming Your Own Banker book, and she can get you those resources. And then basically from there, we can actually work with you on setting up the whole thing and consult with you on it. But guys, I've got to jump on my next call here. It looks like we've got a few people still on. If you didn't get the course, do it. Like, absolutely do it. Invest in yourself. Don't waste time. Don't add time. Don't be indecisive. Those, again, are our top 1% characteristics. Study, make a decision, and then act as soon as possible. So, Sam, anything you want to say before we close out today?
No, that's basically it. But everyone should get the course and start studying and getting this knowledge.
Awesome, guys. As soon as you get it, Brianna's going to reach out to you. She's going to get you your logins. Those will be emailed to you. And then she'll actually work with you on getting through the material, answering your questions. This is not just another digital, glorified YouTube video that you pay for. You're actually going to get real help. So act on that. I know Jeremiah did. Carlos did. I know that Richard did. It looks like Todd is setting up a call. We've got plenty of people that took action today. Don't be one of the ones that didn't. We will be back again in 2 weeks. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for your time, for your attention. And thank you for thinking enough about yourself and your goals to invest in yourself and invest in your financial knowledge.